welcome back to another Switch to Linux. We have a fun little privacy discussion here today. Just in case YouTube decides to crap out again a minute and a half in, we're going to possibly plan for that, see what happens. And we're going to go ahead and see if it does. I'm actually showing 0 views right now, but I am seeing the data in the analytics. I'm seeing the lines and things. So I don't know. Analytics board might be working on YouTube tonight. It'll be the first time in a while, so not sure. Initially, we were thinking it was something related to not putting out enough bandwidth, but I increased the bandwidth and didn't have any issues. Whoa, it's telling me 15 people are watching. I have YouTube analytics for the first time in about a month.
You have
Nice.
17 people watching.
All it took was a global network outage for it to happen. Of course, I'm declaring fake news and misinformation on a global network outage because I first learned about it via text message this morning. So, text message, global cellular communications are out. Clearly not. And I was in the middle of the woods. I was getting really spotty internet anyway, if like on the cell phone. And if the cell networks were down in the woods, I wouldn't have noticed, honestly, because it was spotty. I was getting it. The Verizon was really good, except upload. So download was really good, upload was really bad. So I had to leave there. I had this beautiful spot right on a bayou, and I had to.
They've been doing some really screwball stuff. I clip on thumbnails and stuff like that, and they don't load, and I have to reload the page to get it to run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, YouTube's really been.
Yeah, it's been doing weird stuff. All right. So now we're back to weird stuff happens because we're back to that turquoise good connection instead of the green good connection. Although it's odd, I still have analytics here. Should YouTube be back? YouTube.
Yeah, I got it running now.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I don't know what it is. YouTube's been doing something weird lately.
And we lost 10 viewers, and maybe they moved to a few other sites.
I'm still showing 16 on my. Oh, I'm down to 9.
Me too.
It looks like my analytics did come back, though, so that's actually good. First time my analytics actually came back. Night of Light, hello, everybody. I did see your video this time, Night of Light, that you emailed out. The sounds of the movie Galactica. There you go. Let's see. Interesting topic. Worked in elections in my country out of our national ID card produced by the Elections Commission. I know the entire process. Yeah, then that's, isn't it weird that, wait, hold on. The stream's current bitrate. Interesting. Like YouTube's not accepting it. Maybe I'll need to look at my restream server. Although none of the other systems, none of the other channels are having any problems. YouTube is telling me that my current bitrate is 262 kilobit, but OBS is pushing out 3268 kilobit. So there is something on YouTube's ingestion side. I think what I need to do is reset my stream keys over there. Double check the streaming server, but I think the streaming server is fine, being as that everything else is working without a hitch. Let's see. LinuxTube is over there on Rumble. Okay, how's it going there? The Anchorage is on over there. Strawberry Cupcake, how are you? I want a strawberry cupcake. That sounds tasty. Freaking out because of the wireless outage. It's okie dokie in Canada. Yep. Everything is abnormal. There we go. We have 1/2 over there on Twitch, twitching out. Aggravated Frisbee, sorry for bothering you. Wanted promotion of your channel. Hey, viewers and chatbots. That makes just about as much sense as the guy that contacted me. What was it? It was like, hey, for a great marketing fee, we'll make you a Facebook page. Clearly, you don't
Yeah.
Go to hell with your Facebook page.
Yeah.
All right.
And here I was in my stupidity. I thought that Facebook already had a page for the last 20 years.
For who? I don't have one.
Yeah, a Facebook page. Here I was thinking that the Facebook already had a page.
No. There might be. Facebook likes setting up pages for popular YouTube channels and websites and stuff. Wouldn't surprise me if there's one over there. It ain't me. But they
I was
create those.
thinking about the site itself, not what's on the site.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be because you were in a van and the reasons you were having problems. No, it just started to happen fairly consistently, not too long ago, and it seems to be entirely on YouTube's end because I mean we're restreaming. We're pushing out one OBS feed, goes out to a restream server, and then that gets fed out to all of the other services. None of the other services are having an issue, so. It's not that. Facebook sucks. Excuse my language. Absolutely. I concur on that. Nobody chatting over there on Odyssey. It says we only have 6 watching on Odyssey. That's extremely low. We usually have a lot more. All right. Well, it looks like our Facebook issue is resolving itself. And I actually have my analytics back, so that's good. So what we're going to do here is let's go ahead and get into our topic, and then we will hang out again after the main topic is over. So we want to talk about this crazy new biometric ID card, and this came out of Vietnam. And leave it to Vietnam, right? But Vietnam passed a law in October of 2023, which comes into effect in July 1, 2024. And their new ID card includes iris scans, voice samples, blood type, DNA is also in there, all sorts of information. And instead of like their cards used to have your fingerprints on it, which is curious. Though they're taking that out and replacing it with a QR code so any government agency can scan the QR code and have ready access to a retinal scan and a DNA profile and fingerprints and other forms of biometric and voice samples. And to me, I'm just thinking, this is like, secure that thing because holy hell.
You have been assimilated. This is the Borg.
Yeah, so of course, here is the from the government news, the official one. So the ID cards used to be issued through your local police department. Now they are issued by the Ministry of Public Security. Now, being a U.S., when I start hearing Ministry of, it's like I get these terrifying things. But I do realize, particularly a lot of your British colonies do have Ministry of. Sheer insanity for everything out there. So it's now issued by the Ministry of Public Security, and there is one good law they put in there. We'll get to that in a bit, but so far it's collecting iris, DNA, voice samples, fingerprints. Anybody want to have an initial comment on this type of ID system?
I think it's a little bit too overboard, and it's too much. Mm-hmm. And they allowed this to happen to them, when they could have stood up and, did something about it or voiced their opinion or refused to cooperate, whatever, pick one.
Yeah. Ivan, jump in? Oh.
I'm right in the same boat with Dan. It's just way too much. It's it's like, give us every little thing. And it's like, I saw your note there about the good thing about they can't take it, like hotels can't take it for collateral, stuff like that. It just makes me think, they may not be able to ask for it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have other ways of getting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, India tried something similar to this. It wasn't this robust, but it did have a lot more biometric data in it, and of course, it was breached. Whoops.
Yeah, every single hacker on the planet's going to try and bust into it, even if it's just for fun.
Yeah, and this is what leads to the second issue I have. All this information is stored in a national internet-connected central database.
That's the
probably
target.
Put together by the lowest bidder on a leaky S3 calendar.
Fun.
So,
but the benefit that they have is that Vietnam is not a democracy. So if the government wants, they can really put the screws into the entity who are running this. So if they misbehave or something is happening, their lives could really be in trouble due to some hacker.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find them, but looking at the FCC ruling here, just had I think we excluded it from our stuff because it wasn't a huge deal. But the FCC just said you're not allowed to use AI in robocalls. Excuse me, someone needs to inform the FCC that robocalls are already not allowed. That hasn't stopped because they're hacking into it from across the world. What is the Vietnamese army going to go in and raid Moscow to get the hacker sitting in Putin's basement?
So my comment was not about the hacker, but the entity running the database. They could really be pressured, unlike in the US, because democracy and so on.
I can also see a black market developing for these cards as well.
Yeah. I mean, somebody getting in there, getting all of the information, and just quietly leaking it or collecting it. Of course, there's I think 70 million adults. Every adult age 14 and over is required to get this. And then, of course, they're collecting the data, and the biometric information on DNA and voice is collected when voluntarily provided by the people, or the agency conducting criminal proceedings, or the agency managing the person whom the administrative measures are applied. In the process of setting the case according to these functions and duties, whether it's to solicit, assessment, or collect biometric information on DNA, people's voices are shared with identity management agencies for updating and adjusting to the identity database. In other words, it's quote unquote voluntary until you need a service which we require you to use. So you can, in theory, live in a cabin completely off grid and not have to give this stuff up. But if you'd like to engage in polite society, you are going to have to eventually give such information up. And is this getting close to the mark of the beast? Now, the good news is they do specify, I think it's down here, they do specify that there in no way is this going to be used for any form of embedded chips. So they do defend themselves against the whole mark of the beast idea in that. And the other major benefit here is that nobody's allowed to keep the ID cards. It was common, probably not as much now, but
you
it was
don't
common
get a chip,
before.
you get a QR code.
Hold on, Dan. It was common in the past, at least, I don't know if it still is, that if you go in for like a hotel or something, you'd have to hand them your ID until you give them the key back. Now, those are kind of the days past, but they're saying that is no longer an option. Go ahead, Dan.
You're giving up the chip in place of a QR code.
Yeah. It's kind of like I was at a church. It wasn't last week.
I mean, you don't even need the chip. They can tattoo the QR code on your hand or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at one of those big, not quite mega church, but aspiring mega church a couple weeks ago, and you check your kids in with a QR code, and they have barcodes attached to them, so if there's any issues, they can scan the barcode, and they know where the parent is. Like, no. Who thought this was a good idea for children in the church? But
yeah, someone is not understanding what is written in the last book of the scriptures.
Yes. Kind of funny. Of course, somebody did correct me on my DSL, the damn small Linux videos. Like, the number of beasts is not 666, it's 666. Actually, it's complete because Babylonians used a base 6 numbering system, but we can forgive that for a moment.
But there are some who do think about what is written. I remember a friend of mine 25 years or so ago. There's a successful company in Norway who have customers all over the world. I think also in the US. They're called the Q3. They make the chips, the boxes that you put on your windshield in order to go through toll roads without stopping and so on. Mm-hmm. So around 25 or so years ago, he came and talked about and mentioned that. This new thing that they were researching as part of the new thing that is coming out, and the use case, and then knowing what the Bible said, he was scared of this, and this was 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's the weird technology movement is certainly in there. Now, of course, this is used by all government agencies, so they have one centralized ID, so all government agencies can then go in and scan this one code, and as they scan this one code, then what'll end up happening is now they have access to all of that information. And that really is what the central weakness is the whole database itself is extremely flimsy in that it is a centralized single database accessed by multiple different agencies. And the reality is, I don't think we have the computer competency or the awareness of security to possibly administer this properly. But they're doing that, and they're accessing it with QR codes. So
yeah, here's my QR code. Okay, buddy, stick your eyeballs in this thing.
Yeah,
just to confirm.
Sam Altman can go take his creepy retinal scanners and shove it where the sun don't shine. So
Well,
at least nobody can hold your ID. Not that, of course, you'll probably have to supply it to prove who you are to business entities as well, although I don't know much about the political structure of Vietnam these days. And my ultimate big question about this, is this going to come to other countries too? What do we think about that?
No. It's highly proprietary only for the Vietnamese.
It's their proprietary way of doing things.
Yeah.
I think here in the U.S. it would be the toughest because we have constitutional rights. We have sovereign states that are independent from the whole United States. So you have that working against you too, as you can see with the truck drivers and stuff like that, and the governors splitting for the border and all that to help out. But I think it's
on the one hand, yes, we do have constitutional protections against such things in the United States, but the Supreme Court has also ruled that the presidential administration cannot pay off student loans, yet he attempted to erase everybody's memory about the bad economy by forgiving a bunch of student loan debt this week anyway. So despite multiple court cases about it. So yes, we have a constitution that protects us in theory, but the problem is the Constitution is not oftentimes being followed by persons in the government, and that raises some of those serious issues.
Well, if there's a ruling, doesn't that have to be enforced by an agency?
The problem is we have a deep bureaucracy that makes its own rules and thinks the Constitution is just an old document, which is problematic. Now, on the positive side, for other countries supporting this, on the positive side of that, India did something, like I said, not too far removed from this. It wasn't as crazy. And I think most of the world looked at, said, that's a really bad idea. And then it was proved to be a really bad idea. So when 70 million people have all of their biometric information leaked and it shows up on Have I Been Pwned and another dark web database, I think people start to realize this is problematic. So the good news is that other countries that have done things not quite this draconian, every country in the world didn't rush to do it. But this is 2024. And in 2024, anything and everything could possibly happen, including getting a cellular alert that the cellular towers are down, because that makes sense.
This information could be also useful for them to go poach organs if they need an organ for somebody.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So that's the basic information that I have. Of course, you can read the register report was decent. And then, of course, we have the official ones officially changed the name of Citizen Identification Card to Identification Card. And this is from the Vietnamese site, as this is actually the Socialist Republic of Vietnam government news just came out. So anybody else have anything to add to the topic before we dive on into the comments?
Answer me one question really quickly about government alerts. How is Officer Down alert in Tennessee going to do me any good? Why tell me that?
Well, I'm wondering that same thing, because a couple weeks ago when I was outside of Mount Pleasant, Texas, and I just checked the weather to make sure, we're not going to get like some rainstorm. There is a weather alert for a missing child outside of Houston. Now, Mount Pleasant and Houston are a long ways away. I do not understand why a missing child alert shows up as a special weather report. And I did actually check the weather in Houston at the same time. The missing child report was not in Houston. It was actually a little town just north of Houston. Neither in Houston nor in the actual town was the special weather alert, but I got a special weather alert of a missing child in a city 200 or 300 miles away from where the child was missing from in the Weather Channel.
Wow.
What?
The missing child's in a tornado somewhere.
Absolutely useless information.
And this is also fascinating.
I don't get your tornado warnings anymore because I don't trust those either.
Yeah. Well, this is fascinating because somebody sent me this phone, which I use as my camera. It does not work on any American carrier. He tried it on AT&T. I tried it on T-Mobile and Verizon. We could not get this phone to work well anywhere. Like, it technically works if you're in a big city. So I did some digging on the IMEI number, and this phone actually originates from one of the Middle Eastern countries. I don't know how it ended up here. But when you get the national alerts coming in, they all come in non-English characters. So, like, and it's like, oh, fascinating. And I don't know if they're alerts here in the United States detecting where this is picking up a wireless signal, or if I'm getting special alerts from Pakistan or something. I have no idea.
Because
they have really nice color codes to make it simple for what type of alert it is, but yet
I think Mark froze. All right. Oh wait, hold on.
Color codes.
Okay, we'll go to Salbu. Mark's doing a Biden right now.
Yeah, Mark is buffering. So in Norway, we have this kind of alert system.
I do it all the time.
We had because we used to have we still have them the air raid sirens that and they're tested twice annually. During January and in the middle of January and the middle of July. So they are adding another option that they have been trying for 2 years, which is sending alerts to a mobile phone. The only problem is that you must have an Android newer than a certain version, or an Apple newer than a certain version. And I have neither an Android nor an Apple, but another OS entirely altogether, and I don't get any of these alerts.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying a new phone just to get these stupid alerts.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Joel says
then, I'm willing to take them because I know where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's Arabic, Aramaic, or like Hebrew text. It looks more like either Korean or Chinese. Although it is. This phone does originate in Middle East. I forget now exactly which country, but it is one of the Middle East countries. But it's not Aramaic text that I get. It looks like Korean. Very fascinating.
There is a way to check this because I know this because someone tried it in one of the IRC channels and commented on it. If you take a photo of the screen with the text on and ask ChatGPT what this is, and it will actually tell you.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I can go in and actually see any of the past alerts. Is there a setting for that somewhere? I don't know if there is. I don't know if there is a setting for it. I could go in and see if I can find an old one. But yeah, that's why the phone doesn't work in United States carriers. It's this particular phone. They had there's only like 3 country codes that uses a different processor, and that processor does not work well with American carriers. Let's see. Fresh Vintage is on.
But on the fact that you actually got the alerts. I think it is the same reason that because I think that if you try to call 911 it would actually go through because you don't need a subscription of any kind in order to dial emergency services.
No idea. Let's see here. If you make a Facebook page, they promise to improve your YouTube connectivity and speeds. Ooh, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of colorful words being used to describe this particular ID, including from Blockchain University. Vietnam is a commie paradise. This like the ID system in the 1997 movie Galactica. Ooh, anybody familiar with that one? Is that similar to that ID?
Maybe he's thinking of the TV series Battlestar Galactica, which was on TV 20 years ago.
Did they have a crazy
1978
utopian
version.
biometric ID?
Back in the 78 version, maybe, yeah.
Kids with barcodes, are they part of the supermarket? Yeah, it was one of those churches, so
Yeah.
It was actually a shockingly good church for barcoding their children, which is kind of frightening.
That reminds me of a church in Trondheim where when I moved in there for the first 20 years. One of the churches was called Salem, and they had neon signs where each sign was a separate letter. And for almost 20 years, the M didn't light. So when it was dark, everyone walking by saw that it was a sale of some kind.
Yeah. Night of Light says your country has states which have their own constitutions. The states have to enforce the court decision. If they do not do it, it's worthless paper. Well, it kind of is worthless paper because looking at the border issue, the federal government is charged with securing the border, yet they're not securing the border, and now they're actively suing the states that are attempting to secure the border, and that's problematic. Yeah, India was hacked. Silk Road 3.0 for all the data harvesting stuff. I'm all over Texas. I've gotten alerts from El Paso, and I'm in Central Texas. Yeah. Very fascinating. Is that phone chaos? It's running Lineage. Why is there no market for D apps for Web3? Uh-oh. YouTube is clocking my comments. Uh-oh. Yeah, sorry. YouTube's doing funky stuff again. I have 14 watching over on Odyssey. Hello, Jules, on over there. Within 2 weeks of Audi releasing a biometric car, ignition and owner had their thumb chopped off. How exciting. I don't want one of those. Let's see. And we got 24 watching over on Rumble. Hello, Linux Tube. Do not think I'll be able to stay till the end. Uh-oh. Well, hey, at least we covered most of the news stuff. Kind of short topic, but I thought it was fun for a standalone.
Yeah.
Definitely getting creepier by the minute. Got the gang on Rumble tonight. Yeah, we do, Uncle Bonehead. How's it going there? Don't think they you don't think they hired 87,000 agents for nothing, do you? Of course. It's all the Autodesk. Mount Pleasant to Houston is about 6 hours apart. That sounds about right. Yep, that sounds about right.
Here's some food for thought.
Yeah.
And this was a big issue about 20 years ago. Matter of fact, Ted Nugent got involved in it. And it has to do with everybody getting a social security card with a social security number. And it states right when you're offered at the hospital or whatever, the paperwork to fill out to get the social security card. If you say, no, you don't want it, no means yes, and it automatically reinstates it and you get one anyways. And there was a big stink about this, that everybody has to have a social security card or number.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone needs a number, whether or not you need a card. I don't know. I kind of struck it out lucky once because I had, I got my social security card when I was in like first grade or something. So you have to sign your card, right? Mm-hmm. And so I signed it as a first grader would, And so I go to high school. Of course, this is well before a bunch of crazy guys threw planes into buildings. But in high school, I'm flying out to California. And I'm flying out to California alone. And I think 17 or something maybe. And so I fly out without a problem, spend a week there. I'm flying back. I go to, I think it was the San Francisco airport. And they're like, and I don't have a driver's license. I have my paper driver's permit, which doesn't have a picture. I don't have any photo ID. And I didn't have a problem getting there, but they didn't want to let me on the plane without a photo ID. Like, I don't have photo ID. They're like, well, if you can sign this paper and it matches your social security card, you can do it. Well, I had lost my social security. Actually, I think my mother had lost my social security card only about a year before this. And so I had to get a new card issued. And so fortunately, I had signed the Social Security card in high school. And so my signatures matched, obviously, because it was within a year of each other. But if I had to match the signature from a first grader Social Security card, I'd be stuck in San Francisco. Now, this is before it was poo streets and stuff, but, we're back in the 90s. But it's just like, yeah, great. How wonderful. So,
yeah, I discovered today, I was browsing my county's website. My municipality's website, and I discovered how they are. If you are elected into office in the local there are steps that you need to perform in order to get access to your email account, and the password, the initial password, in order to generate a proper one, is they say that you need to write and the name of the local municipality and your last 5 digits of your social security, because in Norway the social security is 11 digits long and the first 6 is your birthday, and then there are 5 additional numbers, and you're not supposed to use any of these for anything or to log into any. You're not supposed to use this as a password of any kind, and the local government is using it. Yay!
So the local government is scraping everybody's passwords. How exciting! I don't know. There's some things I'd like to live in your country for, and there's some things I really would not.
Yeah.
Well, the FBI is now investigating all these cyber crimes. They've started doing that. And I don't think anybody asked the FBI to investigate businesses' cyber crimes. So I thought that was a bit interesting. Maybe.
Well, I mean, it is important because, unfortunately, the way American businesses, there's so much data going back and forth. I don't know. I can understand it.
Unless there's reason for them to come investigate, let the company deal with it first. Why are they even showing up?
But you also need to account for the fact that they might have some reason that they are not disclosing publicly as part of the investigation. So,
right.
Yeah.
I just feel like, that must be the case with AT&T or somebody like that. But
yeah, it's the same it's the same reason as when people are just stopping on the road for no reason. Just because you don't see the reason doesn't mean there isn't any. So it's the same with the FBI. Just because we can't see the reason they are investigating something doesn't mean there isn't a reason.
Right, and my only thing is, chances are, knowing how the FBI investigates everything they probably shouldn't investigate and nothing that they should, I could see them abusing that authority. That's my thing. As a business owner, I don't want nobody telling me how to run my business. I understand staying legal, but what if, it's day one of the breach and, we got to come investigate. Well, we haven't even had a chance to tell our shareholders.
I think, though, what you're thinking of, though, Mark, is they investigate large companies that there's definitive signs of breaches. A small business that only has, a handful of clients or, up to maybe 100 or maybe up to 1,000 clients, they're not going to waste any resources on that.
No.
Out of the gate. It's only when there's evidence of a big breach.
You can I understand that better now, but you can understand how one might, think that that's not a good thing. But I understand, for a larger business that actually has a record of data breaches, that's a little different.
Yeah, I'm not all that concerned about, about FBI coming in and researching something when they have definitive evidence that a big company was breached, because the company may not know they're breached. It's
like you said, the least data possible. Linus said the other day that, and we'll move on, the least data, and I was proud of him, the least data that you collect on your clients and the least data that you allow out to the cloud, the better, then you won't have all these issues.
Yeah.
Nah, 110%. That's something that you echo time and time again, and it's something I want to get even better on. I'm not bad with it, but I certainly can improve, and I'm gonna start like making my information that's exposed to the cloud very scanty.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I don't use any of these cloud-based business services.
Yeah,
none of them. None of them. There is not a thing that can compel me to do something like that. The closest we might get is something you can self-host on your own site. And manage in your local network. But there's no way I'm going to use QuickBooks ever again because they're trying to push QuickBooks entirely to the cloud. And that just causes too many problems.
Yeah, and if you don't want to self-host it, then you can have someone that you trust to host it.
What's that again, Selby?
And if you, because the majority of people are not going to be able to or have the desire to self-host something, but they might know someone who does self-host that they trust, which is also an idea.
Yeah, that raises some concerns, but I think that it's one of the challenges that we have. So, a video that I have, I've been putting data into a spreadsheet for a little bit on. I want to look at a lot of your financial gurus online. Your financial YouTubers are all like, "Oh, go use Mint, go use," and there's all these different services that are all like these. These things are just handing all these data, and these data, this is not innocuous data, and it's being used. Mm-hmm. And there's open source local software you can use to not only do what they do, but do it better. Yeah. And they want to win out on the convenience, and that's a problem because we don't want to get to that point where we're just sitting there, oh, it's convenient to just use the system, because that's how the data breaches happen. Because guess what? It's really convenient for them to hire the contractors that are saving them the most money, because in business you maximize your profits by minimizing your expenses and maximizing your revenue. And so why would they go with a more expensive person when they go the cheaper one, even if the cheap one might make a mistake here and there? And that's the problem.
You do it because it's about the long game and not the short-term benefit. Most people are short-sighted and they think, oh, easy and user-friendly. I have to look at it when I do my books, and I don't have to hire a CPA. And they'll take the easy way out. But a smart business owner will look at it and see what are the pros and what are the cons and what outweighs what.
Night of Light says maybe you should do a video on open source software for financials, like replacing QuickBooks. I did. I have a full series on GNU Cash, and I have a comparative between GNU Cash and KMyMoney. The one I'm currently doing data and statistics with is KMyMoney because it's better for personal accounts, whereas GNU Cash is better for business accounts. But we already have those, although maybe I need to start refreshing my catalog rather than get up new ideas. Just go back and freshen up the old videos, because I'm getting a lot of people like, you should do a video on this. I did that a year and a half ago. Oh, I did that 3 years ago. But a lot of them are still relevant. So but
it's like you say, everything's offered up on the altar of convenience.
And
that's do what the big movie studios do with old content, remaster it with new colors and so on, and just
Uncle Bonehead says over on Rumble, if we replace cash with fruit, we can bring a whole new meaning to grow your account.
Nice.
Indeed.
See, in my industry, it's all about saving time and taking less actions and more actions and less time.
And that's where the convenience factor can come into play. The convenience factor can come into play when you're saving some time by doing some degree of cloud automation or just automation in general. But then we have to weigh the decision. Like, I stopped doing automation on like backups and stuff when all my automation suggested the backup happened, and I went to actually retrieve files after a data loss, and those backups weren't successfully happening. So, I have a much more robust method now of verifying all backups and things like that. So,
if you don't test your backups, then there's no guarantee they're good.
Local first.
Yep.
I want local first backup, not cloud first.
By the way, in the Rumble chat, Strawberry Cupcake brought up the danger of using fruit as money because there is the temptation to eat them.
I have that problem. I mean, I go through a lot of fruit around here, which is kind of frightening. Right now, I got pineapple and strawberries are my fruit of choice.
Yummy.
Yeah,
I know that I don't like eating a ton of carbs, but I did find this bag of bagels on discount. So,
Yummy.
I just ate some breadsticks. I like my carbs too.
Yeah,
Of course,
I'm not a fan of carbs usually. I actually feel a lot
I'm not
worse
a
when I eat
noodle
carbs.
fan. I'm like a bread boy now as I get older.
Blockchain says you're always in my prayers. Thank you very much for that.
That's very nice, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Always appreciate that. You'd have one hell of a privacy fence around your property. Hey, man, if I don't like my neighbors watching, I drive to another location. Last night, I'm having a beautiful spot. Last night, another van comes through, and there was not a lot of other places to camp, so they kind of pulled in pretty close to me. Like, all right, I'll have a neighbor that's 20 yards away.
You never know. It could be the boogeyman.
Yeah, well, it was the boogie woman because it was a lady, so.
Oh, jeez.
There's your opportunity to get hooked up.
Woo! Yeah, she was a dog person, not a fan.
Oh, man. Doggy.
Have you ever parked next to a schoolie? Of course. Actually, there was a schoolie in the campground last night, too. Yeah, we had a schoolie. The schoolie came in, I think, 2 days ago. I got there Sunday, just left today. And then I was there alone the first night. And then the second night, another couple comes in with a bunch of barking, yippy, yappy dogs that they would not keep on a leash. I had to chase those things out of my campground site several times. And then they were actually still there, so they stayed for a while. And then a schoolie came in, I think, the day after. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of schoolies. I've met a couple of YouTube families, homeschool families that drive around in a schoolie. I've met some of those. I've actually camped somewhat near some of the schoolie conventions, which get very loud. Yeah, you could pack a small data center in a schoolie. Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
What's a schoolie?
It's a converted school bus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So when you make a tiny home out of a converted school bus, because school buses are actually cheap. They're only allowed to run them a certain number of miles, and then you have to sell them. And so you can buy school buses cheap. I could probably go buy a school bus cheaper than I bought this van. The problem is, of course, they are really bad on gas mileage, and
Parking's horrible.
They take special mechanics to fix school buses. They're a little bit different of a beast, even from diesel mechanic perspectives. And, then they are much bigger. And I don't want something big. I want something I can pull into a regular sized car parking lot. Call it good.
Instead of a truck stop.
Do I always park at campgrounds? I do the Walmart parking lots and truck stops too. So Walmarts, you can't park overnight in a lot of Walmarts these days. Not that Walmart Corporation doesn't usually care, but city ordinances pass rules about it. Mostly it's two factors cause that. The first is the fact that a lot of people are being forced to live in their cars, and then Walmart parking lots in some places got completely crowded with people just living out of their cars, never leaving the Walmart parking lot, turning the whole place into a trash bin. So that's problematic. The other factor that pushed it is campgrounds in the area were mad that Walmart's allowed people to park overnight for free and started pushing city councils, which is utterly ridiculous because a person that's going to come in and park at a Walmart parking lot overnight is not your customer. It's like, if you ban us from parking the Walmart parking lot, we're going to go somewhere else. We're not going to go to your place and spend $80 a night for your amazing campground where all we're doing is going there to sleep for a week. Walmart's where you can. I think I've stayed in the last year. I might have stayed at one or two Walmarts. I know I stayed at a Walmart in Roswell. And I don't think I stayed at another Walmart for the last year. I think that was the only one I did. I did a lot of truck stops this trip around. A lot of your big truck stop gas stations. They don't care usually. There's one city that generally did care, but again, the station said we don't care, but the police might come by and kick you out. depending on how busy they get, which is ridiculous. But
the police are looking for the lot lizards.
well, which was hilarious because what I didn't know is 30 miles down the road from that place there was a Walmart that specifically allowed 48-hour RV parking. So I don't stay in a lot of campgrounds. This one was a very unusual campground, which I discovered today as I was leaving. They actually had a shower there. Neat. I wish I knew that earlier, but I think there was that one. Where I was at last week wasn't a campground per se, but it was a place where you were allowed to camp. You had to get a permit from the police, but they had their own. It was like a little pier on a water authority that had their own police presence. And so you just come in there, and right around 4:30, 5 o'clock, the police goes around, and everybody that's going to stay for the night, they just issues them a permit. So that wasn't a campground per se. Other than that, BLM lands, gas stations, rest areas, the occasional side of the road. Every once in a while, you might pull into a residential neighborhood or an apartment complex. So there you go.
I just thought of a killer video idea.
What's that?
A literal collab. Maybe in the future. I've got to build my Yates Networks channel, though.
Yeah, well, get it.
I'll write it. I'll mark it
get it
down
up there and we'll talk.
Yeah, I'll let you know about it. An audit.
Yeah. Oh yes, Walmarts are starting. Some Walmarts are starting to ban big trucks on the front lots. They have ways in the back. Actually, I was at one. I forget where it was at, but I was at one not too long ago that actually had a height restriction for entering all of the front parking lots. Only time I've ever seen that. It was like 11 foot. If you were over 11 foot, you couldn't get in. I'm 10, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing that we just recently figured out within the past few months about Walmart's Wi-Fi requiring an account with the store.
Yep.
Yeah, and when I looked and checked it, it's like, yeah, we need you to set up an account, because if you're inside the store and you ask the app where something is, we didn't know where you are in the store, so we can tell you where to go.
Yeah, I don't know if that's not related to having the account to sign in. The account to get internet is just because they're just trying to get more data and contacts, because they were always able to tell you where you were, but that's based on Bluetooth beacons. Same thing CVS does. If you have the CVS app on your phone and Bluetooth enabled, and you walk down certain aisles, you will get text notifications of a coupon for a product you're standing next to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Turn that stuff off, folks. And why are you putting a CVS app on your phone to begin with?
Yeah. I know what the pharmacy is.
Yeah. Did you look into micro hydro for your power in the event you're near a stream? No, I haven't. I did actually see one of the wind turbines, though, down when I was in Quartzsite. They are expensive.
Yeah.
And we did actually, for the fun of it, I did look around, and there is a little exercise bike thing you can get. It does exist. They already exist. The problem is, I think they push out a maximum of, I think it was like 10 watts an hour or something. So, or was it 10 amps an hour? I think it was, which, I'd have to sit there. I'd get a full exercise just to get, 5% of my battery capacity restored. So it'd be great for losing weight. Not all that great for good.
There is another alternative, although it might not be safe, but the Voyager probes are still using the same power source. So a small nuclear device could be a long-term solution to.
Yeah, one of them Russians ones, they leave out nowhere land that people get find by accident and get burned or killed.
Yeah, the problem is not the devices themselves, but that they are left without supervision.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I just build a nuclear reactor in the van, I should be good?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I run out of water? And I don't want to be tempted to take that coolant water and drink it. It'd be a little bad. Like growing third eyes. It'd be kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Go to the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, you might
watch this three-eyed weirdo on YouTube. He's got this weird random eye growing out of the middle of his head from drinking nuclear wastewater.
Yeah, you might actually have a need for a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, or lead-lined underwear. When in grad school, we worked in the hottest lab on campus, like the most radiation. So I found an advertisement for lead-lined underwear. Of course, they're used if you have prostate cancer. One of the treatments you can get for prostate cancer is a radiation implant, which will irradiate the prostate cancer. The problem is it will irradiate out from there. And so they sell lead-lined underwear to protect your partner. So because the radiation won't bust out of the lead-lined underwear. So I started putting ads up in our lab for the lead-lined underwear.
Jeez.
Oh, man.
Grad school was good times. It was good times for sure.
A friend of mine bought a new computer about 20 years ago. I don't remember the brand, but it was a well-known brand, and it had two EULAs that you had to agree to. The first one was the normal Microsoft Windows agreement, blah blah blah, and then they had a second one which specifically asked if you were going to use this computer in a nuclear facility. And if you answered yes to this question, it would shut itself off and tell you that you need to return the computer.
Well, I mean, maybe you could just put it in a lead case. You know? But, yeah, needless to say, we did not keep the radiation near the computers. That's for sure. Mermans have magical underwears. There you go.
Yeah, lead in its own right is actually a poison.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to nuclear radiation or lead poisoning, I'd take the lead poisoning, in all honesty. Wait, is it a suppository? The radiation, of course. Come on.
According to Night of Light, you need to be careful on campgrounds because according to Israeli news sources, the Yeti is real and he's looking for you.
Well, that's 50% true. The Yeti is real. He's not out to get you. He just wants to hang out. I've hung out with the Yeti several times. I mean, he's cool. He and I are buds. And he is in Oklahoma, by the way. He's not over there in like Oregon, Washington. You guys try and claim he's in Oklahoma, guys. Come on. You go from Texas right on up into Oklahoma. A little bit north of Dallas. There, you shoot on over into that rest area up there. They got the definitive proof of that's where Bigfoot is. He's up there. So,
all right.
He and I are chums. We chat regularly. All right. Well, we have devolved into weirdness, so we might have to jump on.
We have? You mean this isn't discussing the article?
I mean, the article was weird, but when we get into lead-lined underwear and radioactive prostate implants, we've crossed some lines here.
I think those are useful, though.
They are, but
I mean, I like practical stuff.
Yeah. We do have Our Walk in Christ tonight at 9. Premiering is the first 7 verses of Micah chapter 7. We are closing in on that, and hopefully I actually finished the Bible study that I'm doing with my friend on it this weekend, because we are almost caught up to where I'm at, and I like to doing my Bible study before releasing the video online. But that'll be up tonight on Our Walk in Christ. It'll go out, premiere on YouTube. It'll push live at 9 o'clock on Rumble, and then it'll make its way over to BitChute and Odyssey after that. And then tomorrow, weekly news, a roundup, 8 o'clock tomorrow. Do you use the Kind James? I think you mean King James. Not generally. Not my favorite translation. Let's see. I think we have covered everything, right?
So about that, when I need to use an English Bible, I use the New King James.
New King James. Yeah. I mean, King James is fine if you like the Old English. I don't consider it horrible, but I do not think it is the best English translation, especially since it is so old, and English is not only an active language, but arguably the most active language. And, in reality, what we have is the King James in and of itself is the third revision of the 1611, which itself was stated to be a hastily done translation. It's not bad. It is very good. It's just not. It's not as keeping with the modern languages. I think there's other
Yeah,
better ones.
and in order to understand certain words, you need to have a 1600 era dictionary, because in the old 1611 King James, you could there is a few places where you would read that so and so is so gay, which meant something completely different at the time.
Yeah, you get that. You get, the word kine. We don't use the word kine anymore. Of course, that's a cow. But overall, they use the word kine. They talk about compassing an island or compassing a land, which is go around it. Those are words that we don't have those exact definitions anymore. So there's a number of other translations that I like a little bit better, just in keeping with the modern analysis. Then, of course, we have to get into, do you believe the Alexandrian texts are better, or do you believe the Textus Receptus is better? Of course, the King James even predates the Textus Receptus, so then we have a different argument about that when you get into the nuance of everything. There's a lot of issues. I don't get hung up over Bible translations as much, so that really is the case. So King James is among my list of recommended translations. If somebody says, I'm going out to buy a new Bible, which one? I tell people King James, New King James, Holman, NASB, and NLT is the only one that many might consider a little bit more heretical. But if you're looking for a much softer language, ESV's on the list, but I don't like it as much as I used to. Do you check with any non-practicing Christians to make sure your sources are correct on that video before publishing it? No, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't.
That was a fun one.
My pastor loves the NLT because
there's a couple places
he ministers to a lot of kids and young people.
Yeah,
and, the NLT is really good for like the younger generation.
With a couple warnings. The NLT, particularly when you get into Amos, there's a couple places that translate some phrases in Amos that are completely crazy. And I was like, where'd this come from? I looked at every other translation. We looked at the NIVs. We looked at the King James. We looked at every translation. I went to Schofield. I went to Geneva. Totally weird translation. I forget exactly which one it was. So there's some of that. Also, the NLT is among the gender-inclusive translations, which I'm not a huge fan of that. But
that must have been relatively recent, because I think if he knew that, then he would not be using it or recommending it.
No, that's how the NLT's always been. It's always been that way. It hasn't changed a lot.
I don't know if he even realized that, to be honest.
Yeah, and I don't get completely hung up over that. I actually kind of like the New Century version is a very easy to read. It's almost the exact same thing. That actually differs only like 7 verses from the International Children's Bible, which are all very easy, but it is comically gender inclusive, even to the point where I know New Century version does. I think the NLT also removes Son of Man as the title all throughout Ezekiel, which is seriously problematic because Son of Man is a specific title for Jesus. So
yes,
and there is also some translations who changed the description of a young virgin giving birth to a young woman giving birth, which is not a miracle in any way.
Yeah.
Yes, a young virgin.
I believe the Word of God never changes. Any Bible that tried to change the Word of God is big no-no. Yeah, the problem, though, is the King James, though, actually has a couple of actual mistranslations. And that's one of the challenges with trying to say that it's super authoritative, is there are a couple places where they actually did incorrectly translate something by accident, which some of those have been corrected in the New King James. Some of them have not been. It's not a massive amount. There's nothing in the King James that is significantly different in the overarching meaning from even your nearly inspired version per se. But it just gets into translational philosophies and things like that. And the more I study the ancient languages, I look at this, it doesn't really matter. The best Bible a person has is the Bible that they have and they read and they understand. And that's really what it boils down to. Roshi does say this I want to comment on. Woke up and spoke a foreign language that I don't recognize for about 5 seconds, very confused and scared, and prayed about it. Any thoughts? Well, that is exactly what the Bible, when the Bible talks about speaking in tongues, what it is. It's not that speaking in tongues is some weird angelic language. It is an established language. Usually it would happen in the case of a ministry. But I'd say that's certainly something, possibly something of the spirit, but without being there, I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'll tell you something. I had a I had a dream about the rapture had finally happened, and like I can't remember exactly. I don't think it was a matter if I was left behind. I think it was a matter as I was trying to figure out, has it happened? And it had happened or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like something along the lines of things had advanced and gotten really, really bad in the world, and that I feared that it may have had happened. And seems weird, but I may have been questioning my own salvation in my dream, which is really strange.
I had a similar experience 30 years ago. I'm old. When I was in high school, I know I just left high school, but the high school I went to, it was on a farm, and they were They were producing wheat in a field, in addition to other stuff. And in my dream, I dreamt that we were harvesting the grain, harvesting the wheat, and we were bundling in the old-fashioned way for some reason. And then suddenly the sky just lit up as if a lightning strike has struck. And then I felt a tingling in the stomach of the kind that you get when you're driving over the top of a hill or something fast, and you lose gravity for a brief second. And I thought, yes, now we are finally going. And then the clock rang and woke me up. I needed to go to work.
That's the thing. It's like I'm going, and I think it was more along those lines. Yeah, now it starts to crystallize a little bit more. But sometimes dreams can be scanty. I rarely ever remember a dream, but when I immediately woke up, it was so vivid, and then it's just kind of faded.
Yeah, it was the same for me, and I was so mad that it was just a dream.
Yeah, and when I realized it was, I was kind of.
And as far as I do want to respond to this one from Night of Light, and I think with Night of Light, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this principle. But saying there's no mistranslations, can you show the mistranslations right this second in a live stream? No. You can look them up on the internet. This is not a hidden secret. And he says, you're saying you're smarter than the experts that translated the King James Bible. Have you read the introduction to the actual 1611? I have. It specifically states this is done quickly. There are likely errors in it. It is not a infallible document. Read the introduction to the 1611. There are definitely a few errors. Like I said, nothing is major. And it's things like, one of the more major ones is in Job, and I forget exactly which verse, but the actual translation should say, if I have sinned, show me. And the King James says, I have sinned, show me. And that is a mistranslation. There's not a Hebrew scholar who looks at that and says, oh, yeah, King James got that right, and everybody else gets it wrong. Not major. It's understood. Another one is the ages of one of the kings. In Chronicles it says 22, and in Kings it says 42 or something to that generalized effect. Again, it is a slight error. Does it change the meaning of the text? No, it doesn't. It's clearly an error. Not saying the King James is horrible. All I'm saying is that if you read the additional introduction to it, it is not this amazing, perfect translation descended from Jesus himself. Read it, and it tells you itself that it is hastily done and possibly has errors in it. That's it.
You also need to remember that King James of England at the time, he had the strict rules that they had to adhere to under the penalty of death if they didn't follow it, because he wanted an accurate as possible translations. And I think they used almost 11 years doing it.
Yeah, and it's not that the 1611 was the draft and what we have is the King James now is the correct version, because the King James we have now still has the textual errors. In fact, some of them are actually over into the New King James as well. But again, I don't have the verses right in front of me, which ones they are. You need to go on the internet, search them out with an open mind, and evaluate it and look at the origin of the texts and understand that at the end of the day, unless you're using something crazy like the Queen James Version or the First Nations paraphrase or the Voice or something like that, if you're using a mainstream translation, it doesn't matter which Bible translation you use. As long as you read it and understand it.
I think we could end this with. I think we can end this with something that Joel Richardson said in one of his videos or talks. When he was talking about, I think it was he had a sermon somewhere, when he were talking about in part of this the various translations and which you should avoid and so on. But he said that he started with one of those who had more errors than others. And he doesn't recommend anyone using them. But he said that still this bad translation is enough to the text in it is the errors is not worse than anyone reading it could be saved from it. Because,
And that's the thing, and that's why studying the original languages is what really helped me see and understand and clarify what the texts are, because looking at just the different Greek versions of the text, of course there's three basic families. We have the Alexandrian, we have the Textus Receptus, and we have the Western. Everybody agrees the Western's crap. No Bible translation uses those. King James and New King James exclusively uses the Textus Receptus. Everybody else uses Alexandrian. And if you're using the old original Alexandrian text, yes, there's a lot of issues and errors, but the current one we have, which is the UBS, resolves nearly everything of those. And so that certainly is an issue. Roshi does say Queen James. Yes, there is a Queen James Bible. It translates all of the things relating to homosexual agendas as being pro-gay. And there is also the Toleration Bible, which takes out everything that is allegedly intolerant and replaces it with toleration instead. Definitely avoid those.
That's really, really bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
What I do when I'm looking for an English Bible, there is a couple of verses that I always check, and the first is in Genesis, when the creation story. If it says anything other than and then it became evening and morning the second day. If it doesn't say that, then if there are a few translations who said and it became evening and morning a second day, meaning it could be a million years down the line.
I'll tell you, I've never heard anybody say a negative word about the NASB. And what little I have seen, it's pretty accurate.
If you'd like to hear a negative word about the NASB, I will go ahead and give you one right now if you would like. The new version.
If you're looking for like a modern translation that's a little more easier to understand and read for
the modern younger, the NASB committee wanted to do a rewrite, so they actually have a new edition as of 2022, and they started doing some of the things that some of the other modern translations did, such as taking out the couple of the verses that were that are in some of the ones in dispute. So the King James leaves in all of these verses, whereas a lot of the other modern translations takes them out. I want the verses in there. I agree with the King James on those perspectives. And the NASB 95 and the original one kept the verses in and bracketed them so you knew that they were not in the Alexandrian texts, but they are in the Textus Receptus. And so the new version of the NASB 22 takes those out, and then they added some gendered language. And the big problem with that is the original philosophy of the NASB was to allow the reader to be the ultimate interpreter of Scripture, whereas the other translations wanted to translate it with the gender inclusives in mind, which took some of the translational efforts away from the ultimate reader. So in the new version of the NASB, they are moving off and further away from their original goal. But you can still buy the older version of the NASB. They're keeping that one in print. So when you're going to buy an NASB, make sure it's the NASB 95. That is still the good one. Now, MacArthur's group takes what they did with the 22, and they said this is utter nonsense. So MacArthur's group took the NASB 95. They corrected what they perceived as the issues on their end, and they re-released that as the Legacy Standard Bible, which is very hard to find, but is amazing if you can find one.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be a really nice gift to get somebody.
Yeah.
I like one of my own. You know, I'm everything digital. I just don't have a hard copy Bible, but you know, it's probably not a bad idea to have some hard copy Bibles.
Everyone needs hard copy Bibles, and if you're going digital at all, you should be using something in the sword modules that you can get.
Yeah, I do need
because they're completely offline. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we have devolved, completely merged this channel with the Christian channel, but hopefully it was a fascinating theological idea. If you do want to consider further, I actually do have a lot of discussions about the Bible translations, the original languages, my views of these translations, including the amazing hit piece where he took half of a sentence out of context to tear me up or whatever else. That half of a sentence was the review video for the Legacy Standard Bible. All of that is over on my Christian channel. I'll go ahead and drop the link for that into all of these. Of course, it's available on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute as well. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the YouTube version in just for simplicity of copy pasting. And then you can go find it on whatever the other platforms are that you want. But it's Our Walk in Christ. And we are going to be going live premiering over there with a video. We're going to premiere a video over there at 9 and 45 minutes from now. So if you guys want to jump on over and see what that is. And I do have a lot of resources on Bible translations and such. Over there. And so with that, we're going to wrap this one up, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the weekly news roundup. Have yourselves a wonderful